people whose garage doors are wide open and suggesting they may want to close their door. Now, I don't know how much crime this has caused, but I imagine a lot of rabbits and coyotes have had a very easy time getting into these garages, and that's not desirable.
Mike Singer?
No, safety, it is a big issue. More guards, I don't think that's the answer. More security, I think we, at this time, have adequate security. We're never going to stop everything. You know, think about one thing, people. When was it? Last week? The White House? With the Secret Service, overhead cameras, machine guns on top of the White House. A man got into the White House. There is no complete answer to security. I think Securitas is doing a great job. I really cannot see spending any more money at this time on security.
Thank you. Mike Cutler?
I agree. I think Securitas is doing a very good job for us. They could do a better job if we allowed them to add more guards, to hire more staff. But that costs more money, and the cost analysis by the Finance Committee recommendation says that they believe the staffing is adequate for what we need in this community, and they denied adding any positions to Securitas, and I agree with that. Just a clarification, not that Jay was wrong, that our guards can have the permits to carry guns, and yet they're limited in their use of them. What it does bring us with those officers are the additional training that they get, and I think we end up with superior guards because they've had the additional training, not only in wearing and using a gun, but in other areas to get such a license to carry a gun. Finally, I'd say to Mr. Lee, I'm also very curious about how he plans to beef up security, yet reduce our assessments by $22 a month, when if we were going to add a guard, it would have potentially increased our assessments. So I'm kind of confused how he can accomplish both at the same time. So like you, I'm curious as to the answer.
Sue?
Well, let's all face it. We all want to feel safe and secure where we live. And a good, secure, gated community is one of the reasons why I chose Sonoma. My husband Richard travels a great deal and has gone through the week. And it made a difference to me to feel that we have a gated community. I think the cost for Securitas, I think they're doing a pretty good job. I've always been pleased with when I've had to call them. I also believe that the patrols are actively driving through our community. They sit at the gate, and a lot of the times helps with the tailgating issue. But they are spending a lot of time tracking down violators to the tailgating issue, and they're spending a lot of personnel hours for that. I know that they've stood outside my house with radar guns catching speeders, and they don't probably do it as much because I cut down the tree, then we don't have the shade to stand under. But anyway, there is a concerning legislation that is before the Nevada legislature to have homeowners associations be prevented to using any type of radar guns. And I know that as a walker, we have a lot of people in our community that do speed and just kind of float through the stop signs. But on the whole, I think Securitas has given us a pretty good cost for what they're doing.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Lee will have the last word on this issue.
Somehow, I sense a lot of complacency here. I think our board of directors can bet on each other's back. Maybe you and I are the only two minorities really concerned about the total safety in this community. What bothers me the most and what motivated me to write this beef about the security is that when you open the magazine, probably you have done that, and you've seen us done that magazine. Year to date, we have 600 tailgaters came into this community through various gates. What do they get? They get an invitation to come back again because the security gave them a courtesy notice. Can you believe it? I mean, someone trespassed into our community, or someone walked into my front yard, I would say, well, this is a courtesy notice. Please don't come back again. So this is the biggest problem we have here. The security team, they got their priority messed up. I don't want to use a more serious word. And then I'm also bothered by the feeling that say, hey, we only have 5 crimes set, burglaries, by statistics. I mean, that's so-and-so, this, and I mean, all kinds of those comments. I mean, if any one of us, if the burglary happened to your house in the night, I mean, would you feel comfortable to go back next week, next night? I mean, feeling the burglary maybe at your home? I mean, and that burglary could escalate up to more serious crime. So I have a zero tolerance. I mean, you and I, we're not statistics. This is a big issue. My time's up.
Sorry, time is up. That was 3 minutes.
Okay, please call me.
Next question?
Mac McAuliffe, thank you all for serving and offering to serve. My question's on assessments. I sat in on a finance committee meeting in August where it was contemplated that our assessments would be increased. I'm aware, obviously, that we haven't had an increase in a number of years, but I'm just curious about each of your philosophies about the assessments, understanding that there are a number of people here that are on fixed incomes, and this amounts to essentially tax increases. So I'd like to just hear you talk about what your belief is about assessments in the future, looking out the next 1 to 2 years. Thank you.
This question will start with Mike Singer.
Well, I'm going to take some of Mike's thunder away from him. There will be no increase in assessments for the coming year. This board has worked very, very hard to make sure that we have received the reserve and operating budget from the Finance Committee. We've gone over it. We've even made some tweaks to it as well. There will be no assessments. We also do feel that we possibly might be overfunded in the reserve end of it, and we're taking a look at that right now.
Mike Cutler?
I too would like to thank the Finance Committee for working diligently on the budget. Keep in mind that the first draft they received was a wish list, which was every committee and every club and every staff department could ask for what they hoped to receive. So it was a wish list and got trimmed down dramatically. Honestly, I was quite surprised that they were able to, the Finance Committee, able to reduce it as well as they did, so that there is no increase in assessments for this coming year, 2015. And I feel certain that the board will vote to approve that. But in answering your more general question, I'm not afraid of increasing assessments. That's not the most vote-friendly thing to say, but we do have to analyze what the needs of the community are. We have not had an increase in assessments in 5 years, which is a very, very long time. If the Finance Committee can do its magic next year, I'll support no increase again, but I'm not going to shy away from the possibility that assessments might have to be increased if there is a need for it.
Sue Hoffelmeyer?
Well, I believe that this community deserves nothing less than a highly effective governing board. And when I heard that the dues were going to go up $38, I was taken back. Because when I looked at 2014, the reserve funding was at 75%, and the 2015 was going to be at 98%. I'm very glad to hear that we're not going to have increase in assessments. But I think it took an outcry from a lot of our residents to make the board go, wait a minute, let's relook at that. I think the board needs to have more transparency in preparing the budget and helping the community along the way as with knowledge of what they're doing and how they're arriving to that. I know the finance committee works closely with the board, and I would like to see greater participation by our residents within that. You know, we have, if we're at 98%, we have a lot of cash, and when you have a lot of cash, you know, the inclination is to spend it. And as a physical conservative, my inclination is to save it or give it back to the residents. Thank you.
Next, Sam Lee.
The reason I think I can cut the expenses by 20% in the cap or put a mandate of no increase of the monthly assessment is just by the numbers. Look at the $222. I mean, I like to throw in our comparable adult living community at Sun City, Anson. Their annual, monthly due is $91.50. Of course, they don't have the gates. They don't have the security. All are made up of volunteers. Do they have a higher crime rate than us? I really don't know. But, according to them, some of my friends live there, they feel so comfortable out there and they don't hear anything. Of course, some of the committee members are going to contradict me, but at least we need to work towards that goal. And I believe the board members need to get involved. We hear too many of this committee, that committee, the property committee need to go to the safety committee, need to go to the finance committee, and for the board to approve, to take a look. That will take years, ages. Okay, anything we need to do. This is a small community, 2,000. We don't have a budget. Revenue for slightly over $5 million a year. We don't need to create so many layers so people, the committee not held accountable to you and me, and the board of directors said, well, that's a chair's committee recommendation. We act on that. So who's responsible for it? I'm from Missouri. I like to cite Harry S. Truman. The buck stopped here. We need to get to the bottom of it. We need to get to the detail and get it fixed and cut the fat out of the budget.
Time's up, thank you. Next is Jay Shafferts.
I want to thank the two Mikes for telling us tonight that we are going to have no new assessment this year. As a member of the Finance Committee, I want to acknowledge Mike's thanks that we recommended zero assessment and wonder exactly how they achieved it, considering they changed the numbers around quite a bit. But I'm sure it'll be fine for this year. It would be completely irresponsible for any member of the board to say that under no circumstances would he ever raise assessments. When you all moved here, you decided to move into a first-class community with first-class amenities. And that costs money to create and to maintain. Consider the chairs you're sitting on. We could very easily have gone to Costco and bought $20 chairs, and you would be very uncomfortable by now. But instead, we bought these much more expensive chairs costing, I don't know, maybe what, $200 each?
Lots.
Even more than that. Anyway, but your very delicate derrieres deserve this kind of thing for living in this kind of community. There is nothing we can do to prevent our costs from going up in the future. Inexorably, the utilities are going up. Water will be going up every year. Inflation will be kicking up soon. Assessments will probably go up over the next couple of years, and all a responsible member of the board can do is to promise to do everything possible to keep it as minimal as possible, but at the same time, maintain the standards that we all moved here for.
Thank you. Next question?
My name's Ira Jacobson. I have two short questions. One is, I'd just like to know if all of you have read the NRS requirements for homeowners associations. And do you believe that everything we're doing is consistent with that? And is there anything you're proposing that may violate it? That's the first one. And the second is, the good news of having boards change is you get lots of new, fresh ideas. The bad news is you lose corporate memory. Almost every issue that gets brought up has been looked at 10 times already. What is your philosophy for how often you will relook at questions just because residents who lost the vote or new residents who don't have any corporate memory decide to bring it up again?
Thank you. This time we'll start with Mike Cutler.
Thank you. I'd like to say I'm familiar with the NRS book, which is the Nevada Revised Statute. Don't ask me to quote it paragraph by paragraph because it's hundreds of pages long. And honestly, if there's a ruling by this board that we think is guided by NRS, we often seek counsel because they can interpret that gobbledygook a whole lot better than me. But yes, I'm somewhat familiar, and all board members have that book, are given that book when they begin their term, and should be referring to it. And so I hope everyone does. As far as issues coming back again and again and again, I've been here 5 years, so maybe I haven't heard an issue pop up again and again. I've had, I'm sorry, I guess I needed an example because maybe I'm forgetful. But I know there have been guests, residents who have appeared before the board meeting complaining about something, and they've been given an answer and come back to the next board meeting and complain about the same thing, and I'm sort of frustrated and at trying to be polite. I try not to say any more publicly about it. I just allow them to speak their piece. If I knew the topic that keeps coming up, maybe I could refer to it.
Arms, security, budget issues, outdoor toilets, every single issue comes up over and over and over.
We need to have Sue answer the question.
Well, I have I have read NRS 116. I can't quote it verbatim either. But having worked in with the congressional district office, man, politicians can change things pretty fast. And I think the board needs to really keep up to date, but that's why we do have good counsel. Obviously, our counsel is going to be well used in the 2015 budget. Their projected percentage rate went up 67%. I mean, to 67%, that's a big margin. I think there's going to be a lot of issues coming to the Nevada legislature with regard to homeowners associations. You know, I named one with the radar guns. There's the solar wind imagery. There's another one with ham radio operators. I know I'm aware of those. And I just think we need to be current on those. That is what good counsel is for. How things keep coming up. Obviously, you know, maybe we're not really listening very well. And I think that if the topics keep coming up and over and over and over, I think the board has the duty and responsibility to continually address those and with good information and make good policy and guidance to our general manager.
Thank you. Mr. Sam Lee.
I think I'm not afraid. I'm not scared by just like, you know, CCMC may threaten us with pull all the people away, and then you're going to be a collapse, the homeowner association. I'm not scared by that, and I'm not scared by say, you know, if all three of us replace the majority of the board. You know, all we need is, you know, few weeks, we can catch up with everything. After all, this is really not a big community. And the other thing is, I mean, based on my understanding, 50% of the people don't even have their names on the direction. A lot of people, you know, not even living here on a full-time basis. So there's no big issue. No, it's not a big challenge for the continuation issue. And then on top of that, you know, if in this board meeting you ask me the question, next board meeting somebody asks me the same question, I think it's very easily addressed. I mean, you know, we should have the patience treating our neighbors like our families. So, you know, I don't think that would be a big issue. But by the way, I'd like to mention something. Mike, you know, probably didn't do this homework, which I did, which is what Jay's major concern last night was that what Sue mentioned that too. What's the percentage of the reserve? And Jay said, well, you know, one day the council advisor said 70%, the next day said 90%. But what's the base? What's the base for the 70 or 90%? And then why 70 or 90? Jay mentioned to me, I did the homework for him, it's adequate.
Sorry, time's up again. Okay, Jay?
Concerning the NRS. Last Monday, after we put our papers in to run for the board, we all met with the attorney. Very nice man who gave us a little crib sheet about what the laws are, just 2 pages, and then he spent the rest of the time complaining about what's in this and what's in the law and how it's unintelligible and stupid and unenforceable, and nobody really knows whether they're doing the right thing or not because it's so poorly drafted. And that's the lawyer talking. When the new board takes office, a few weeks later, they have some sort of training session with a lawyer, teaching them presumably everything they minimally need to know about the state regs. And of course, if I get on the board, I will become an expert on this. I'm vaguely familiar with it now. I've looked at parts of it once in a while when I've had to look up specific subjects about health or other regulations. So that's an honest answer on that. Concerning problems coming up time and again, there's this old Broadway song, I can't remember what show it's from, but it goes, everything old is new again. And that's what happens here. We're talking about toilets by the pool, this has been going on for 5 or 6 years as I remember it. Talking about gated arms, this has been going on for 10 years, for the gates, this has been going on for more than 10 years now. There are certain kinds of problems, what are called wicked problems, that are essentially unsolvable. That is, whichever way you go, you may be doing the wrong thing or the right thing, or you can make the case either way. And basically, as a board, you can't win, but somebody's got to make a decision. And the reason you vote for a board is that this is the final authority. The Supreme Court is not right because they're smart. They're right because they're the final place you go to get a decision in this society, and the board works a little bit like that.
Time's up. Mike Singer?
Well, after 2 years, I think I am familiar with the NRS. One thing that no one has brought up that I want everybody to know, when we have workshops or we have meetings and Mr. Nabu, our general manager, or Carol, our assistant general manager, is in there, if we run across an article or something that we're doing and it is not up to the standards of our NRS, it is their job and their duty to inform us that we're going wrong and to correct the thing. Things, like Jay says, what old is new again is totally right. I know we're going through this gate arm issue, we're going through more security. These are not new, but what I think happens, I think everyone has a cause. And all of a sudden, something happens in their life that they want to go on back, let's try the board again. And the board is willing to do that. This gate arms has been going on, God, I don't know for how many years, but it's something the board considers. if it goes through the properties or safety, we will reconsider. That's what we do.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, Wes Astra, 1047 on New Day PRI. One of the questions here that last board was that there was a lot of disfaction with CCMC, and yet the board has been hesitant to look at other management companies for fear we lose everybody at computer system. Well, basically, there were certain laws that if you were to get rid of CCMC, they would have to turn things over to you, and it won't be the final catastrophe that everybody predicted. So my question to each of you is, how willing are you to look at other management companies since we do not have a signed contract?
This time we'll start with Sue Hoffenmeyer.
Well, CCMC, Sun Colony and Sienna started with CCMC. They've been with us for a long time. They've been in business for 14 years. They represent 130 communities nationwide, and they currently manage several communities in Las Vegas. Sienna is one, Red Rock is another, and the New Mountain Edge is also another. I'm willing to take a look at different agencies that are out there. I think that's good business sense. You know, if we're not getting good services for the cost that we're paying them, then, you know, yeah, we need to. I think we need to be continually doing that for a lot of things. Housekeeping is one. We have a contract with them, and you know, Jeremillo is another. I think we need to always, you know, see what's out there, and it benefits our community. In renewing their contract, I think we really need to work hard at breaking it down and basing the things on facts. What's our wants? What's our priorities? What's our cost? What's we're receiving? And we need to continually do our research, as I said before.
Thank you. Sam Lee.
The contract negotiation will be number 2 priority for me. I think all the contract is subject to review every year. And I've been on the other end for 40 years, and our company has won Vendors Excellence Award from national retailers, but we still need to go submit our proposal year after year. And then throughout the years, we continue to improve ourselves. So we should review all the contract. I mean, if nothing else, just for the fun, just, kick the, rear end and tell them to stay on their toes. And then, give them the idea that, hey, if you don't match somebody else, new proposal, or whatever icing on the cake, and you might lose your business with us. We're not here with you forever. And then this is the way you deal with contractors. I mean, Mike, the general manager down there, probably, sending my comment to the headquarters in Phoenix now. But, that's just business. I mean, as the board of directors, we are responsible. Watch out for your money and our money too. So we need to stretch our dollars as far as it could. All it takes, just the urge, the intention to do it. And I think, I do have that urge to do it. I'm not laying back, say, well, they've done a great job, and I'm not happy with that. We need to review the contract every year.
Time is up. Thank you. Jay Shafferts.
I am not only willing to consider other companies instead of CCMC, I am anxious to review other companies. On the Finance Committee, I've probably been the severest critic of CCMC. Let me just give you an example of one major problem. In the contract, there's what's known as a non-compete clause. If we give them notice, and we can give them notice up to 90 days, if we give them notice, we no longer want them to work for us, they then take all their employees with them. All the employees at the fitness center, all the employees in this building, and they cannot work for us for at least a year. People think, well, this will create chaos. This is almost like blackmail. I find this completely intolerable, and the first thing the board should do, the new board, is say to them, what you must do is abrogate that clause. Abrogation is a great word. It means when people mutually agree to cancel all or part of a contract. And that must be done immediately. And if they don't do that immediately, we give them their notice and we find another company. Now, you give them 90 days. Try and negotiate a new contract with them over that period while you're looking for other companies. There are lots of available. Now, talking about everything old is new again, one thing this community has talked about for many years is, well, maybe we don't need a management company. Maybe we should simply do it ourselves. That is, hire our own managers, hire our own people. Well, we could do that, and it might save some significant money. But then we need a full-time personnel officer. We'd still need people to go out and do the kinds of sophisticated things that they actually do for us in terms of budgeting. So it's a mixed bag. These are the kinds of decisions the board has to make. But the current situation with CCMC, in my opinion, is intolerable. And you would all agree if I told you all the financial terms, which would take me another hour. But they're using you as a cash cow. Believe me. Thank you.
Time is up. Mike Singer?
Well, number one, I'll state categorically, I would be more than willing to look at a new management company. But saying that, what you guys don't know from not being on the board, over the last year, we have been looking at that. We have had many debates between ourselves on how to approach the situation. It's not a matter that we take very lightly. We have different meetings. We've met with their management. We've expressed our problems. I think they heard the bell. They know that we're not happy with the way things are going and things have to change. Now, Jay brought up the contract and what it calls for. Well, you got to think of one thing. If we can't get things straight, what we have to do is go ahead and look at a new contract. In order to do that, you contact other management companies. You ask them for a blank copy. You look at their contracts. You pick out the good stuff. You pick out the bad stuff. You form what you think would be an adequate and proper contract. Once we get that, if we go that route, we go to CCMC and say, hey, let's do it this way. CCMC is not all bad, guys. They're not the greatest, but there's a lot of pluses to staying with CCMC.
Mike Cutler?
Well, pretty much like what Mike Sanger just told you. There is a lot involved in a community management contract. And I don't know if you know everything that's involved in one. It's pretty complicated. So what the board has attempted to do this year in a series of meetings, and we haven't done